you want the label to face you while drinking it?
Yeah, no, like if I was putting the label on, I would want it to face this way as the person drank it.
Oh, so you want to line up
facing.
You want to line up where the top of the can goes.
Yes.
Well, we'll be sure to let them know
Right?
that. Yes. So Jeremiah, if you're listening, she wants you to fix this label.
The label, I feel like, should go facing the person who's not drinking, so they'll know what you're drinking.
Product placement.
Product placement, yeah.
There you go. Well, what are you drinking?
So today I'm drinking, well, this is from King's Brewing, Rancho, and it's called Lucy's Peanut Lollipop Frosé. It's really good. It's like a michelada, I guess, but it's a beer, but it's fruity. It's spicy.
Was it michelada beer?
I like it. Yeah, michelada is like a beer that has like spices in it, kind of like a Bloody Mary, but a beer.
But a beer.
A bloody beer.
So that's good? You like that?
Yeah, I do like it.
I mean, you should. This is like your 6th one this afternoon.
No. Oh my gosh. I wish. No,
you gotta stop crushing the cans and putting them under your desk. It's starting to make
what's wrong with that?
It's making a lot of noise when your chair moves around.
Is that what's causing all the gnats?
Yeah.
Oh.
It is. So, all right. Well, so we're sponsored by King's Brewing.
And
Costco Red Cup.
In the sense that he provided the drink, so.
Correct. All right, cool. Well, so this is our 350th episode.
No one cares what episode it is, really. We're over that.
We're over that.
That is so pre-Thanksgiving to talk about the number episode
so
you're on.
we're here. It's now we're turkey hangover.
Thanksgiving's over.
Thank goodness.
I mean, I'm still eating the turkey.
I'm not.
It's my favorite.
I'm done. I'm over it. I don't want to see it for another year.
Love it.
So we did our festival.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh.
It'll be a week and a half ago. So not last weekend, but the weekend before.
Our third Saturday.
Yeah, we skipped a podcast because of Thanksgiving.
Yes.
So we did third Saturday. So how did you think it went?
So actually, it went really well. I mean, it was crazy, like right up until the minute.
Yeah.
And we obviously had things that we could have prepared better for, but that's to be expected. A lot of people showed up. I mean, it was basically go the whole entire time, and then
Yeah.
And I think we left at like 2:30 in the morning. So that always is a sign of a good party.
Well, our gallery got so we track our foot traffic in and out. Mm-hmm. And our camera said that there was more than 700 people that crossed over the threshold into the gallery.
That's pretty crazy.
I
mean, I might have crossed over about 50.
No, it tries to isolate you.
It does.
Yeah, it's got recognition on it, so it tries to isolate. It gives you analytics that are. It's not perfect, but it gives you kind of because it looks at going in and out, and it looks at the flow to give you your analytics on that. But it was as soon as 6 o'clock hit, the gallery was packed, and the gallery stayed packed until well after 10. Like it literally
had a good flow the whole time.
Yeah, sold some paintings, did well.
And when you do events like that, you really start to realize like how many facets there are to an event or putting something together.
Yeah, way more.
I mean, kind of like a business. And actually, we basically turned it into a business.
No, it is. Well,
after that night,
we were. So we were definitely we missed our team meeting before the event. So the idea was, hey, we're going to have a team meeting. We had security and people working the retail store. Everybody had walkie-talkie with earpieces in it.
We were going to assign stations.
And so that got blown out of the water. Way more vendors showed up than we realized. So we were prepared, but we weren't prepared. I think just being our first one. I mean, to the public, it looked great. It went off without a hitch. Everyone loved it. Internally, we were like kind of freaking out. It was like, we could legally start selling alcohol at 6 p.m. It was 5:58. We couldn't get our merchant machine to work.
And no one tested it prior.
And we couldn't find the wristbands, the over 21 wristbands.
Which I put away safely and then forgot.
Yes. So here we are like 2 minutes before, and there's like a line brewing, people waiting to buy, and we had no means of taking payment. And so we're like running around, and I had told you, I go, it's like those shows where the cruise ships, and they show the chaoticness of a cruise ship.
All the drama.
And we're like, oh my God, that's us. So like, are we going to make it? But with a miracle happening, 6 o'clock on the dot, we start making sales. Like it just came together, but man, it felt like it was going to fall apart.
We're going to be so prepared next time.
Yeah, it was crazy.
That's the challenge of doing something like that. And it is fun to kind of, okay, you've done this thing. Now there's how much organized can I get it each and every time?
Correct.
And you start to realize too, like you need so many different people focusing on just their thing. Like for instance, content, like filming and taking pictures and all of that. Like that's its own job.
Yeah.
And I certainly did not have time to do it right. I tried to do it as I was going along, looking at everything and working.
Well, I think I notice is me and you should not have jobs.
Right.
Because what happens is everybody sees us and wants to talk to us.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you're the owner. Oh, I know you from, Instagram, and they want to have a conversation with you.
Yeah.
And so I was kind of head of security, but not really. Elijah took that role. Our son, he was head of security with his buddies, and they actually had a great time. They thought it was fun to put on like earpieces and be able to like talk smack over the radio and say, hey, there's somebody that looks suspicious.
Say 10-4 and all.
We had a couple of questionable characters that we had to kind of check up on, but it actually went really, really well. And again, despite the problems, so. Yeah. When we were thinking about what we were going to talk about this episode, I said I really want to talk about working under pressure because this is a business. What we're doing here is part of our business. We have goals and stuff and so forth. And what we experienced on our very first time is what causes many people to never do it again. Like so many people say it's so much work. It's so much work, right? And we've talked about
a lot of work.
Talked about this in the last podcast. Yeah, it's a lot of work. Get off your ass and do it, but you run into all these obstacles, you fail, not everything went, according to plan. But when we debriefed, one, we were still kind of like excited about it. It was 2 days later.
We're on a high still.
We're on a high still. And we further committed to more stuff, right? Even though the first stuff didn't go off without, so smoothly. But when you debrief, clarity, I see what I did wrong. I'm going to fix that. I'm going to fix that and I'm going to move forward, right? And so.
And what's nice is when there's other people who are equally excited,
yes,
and who also have a skill set that can help you achieve like the things that you want to achieve.
Yeah, well, and I think that's important too. We had to apologize to some of the people that are working with us to say, hey, if we're stepping into your territory, sorry, because for the last 20 some years there really was just us and we always had to do all the roles. And so now to think that somebody else is handling something, making the brochures and the maps, or handling the vendors, or picking out what food we're going to have, normally we would do all that. And now to think somebody else is having that decision power,
it's nice actually.
If it's a little it kind of freaks you out a bit, but it is nice. It's nice in the sense that somebody else has got it, right? Like that's nice knowing that you have reliable people to do that.
And if I trust a person, I'll just turn it all over and never think about it again. I mean, that's kind of how I am. Like as long as I trust you that you're going to do it and you're going to do it right. Yeah,
it's just getting to that trust with you.
Well,
you're really hard because you like to hold on to stuff and like.
Well, if I see other people that I see what they've done. Well, like Jeremiah, for instance, like he obviously has a whole business and he's done it, and so I trust him that he'll do it right and do what he says.
Well, and when we talked about, and even if things don't come out 100% the way you would have done it, as long as one, to the consumer, it looks great. There's a value there. Right. Whatever proposition we're putting forward gets met, and it's done professionally, right? And so you may encounter times where things aren't exactly the way you would have done it, but having to let go of that and allow somebody else to do it is how we're going to expand our team. And in time, feedback will enable them to understand more how you would want things done, them to tailor things to be, in the middle to where it's making you happy and they're getting their goals accomplished, right?
I mean, giving up control and not trying to micromanage everything is a skill set on its own, because you don't want to become your own bottleneck. And at the end of the day, it's impossible for you to do if you're going to do things on a large scale, it's impossible for you to do everything.
Yeah.
It's just, you're going to die trying, and you're not going to do it well, and you're not going to be happy. So practicing kind of giving up control, trusting other people, and like you said, even if it's not perfect or the way that you would do it, that's the trade-off for being able to do more things and bigger things.
Well, it's funny because me and you are so opposite. So you have an issue giving up control. I mean, not an issue, but you don't like to give up control because you want to make sure it's done right. Like you're not going to just go, here, do it and walk away. Because you want to know it's done right. Where
I just want to know it's done right. So
correct,
that means I have to control it.
But right being your way, right? There's the right way, the
Well,
wrong way, and then there's
that's
your
not
way.
true.
Yeah, it is true.
The
Okay.
most efficient way.
I've been married to you for almost 3 decades, so
Okay,
yes, that is true. But what I'm saying is, it's funny because I'm like the total opposite, where I'm like, I want to give up control immediately to somebody, but they keep coming back to me, and it's not because they don't want to do it. They go, but you know how to do it, and I don't necessarily know what maybe they lack the skills. I'm like, oh my goodness, it's easy, just do it, right? Like I want to just get it off and be like,
Yeah.
here, go do this, assuming that you automatically know how to do it. And so people come back to me because they don't, where in your case, people know how to do something, but you're like, but I want to make sure it's done the way I want it done. So it's kind of a little bit opposite of.
Well, yeah, we do underestimate just the amount of experience and things we know how to do. So,
Yeah.
we have the kind of the benefit of being multifaceted and knowing how to do a lot of different things, where people don't necessarily always have that. They can do one thing, or they can do something that you tell them to do, but I feel like very few people have the ability to do a lot of different things well.
Yeah, well, and I think entrepreneurs tend to have that skill set because they're forced to. So
Because we have to do everything.
yeah,
ourselves,
like for example, like when you first start out, okay, back in the days when everything was in paper, you had to make forms. Now, did you want your form to look like you just drew it out on a piece of paper and photocopied it 15 times like some businesses do? Or did you want it to look like it was professional and you were a Fortune 500 company, right? And so you have to learn how to create all the forms in Word and Excel and have that professional image, right? And then,
And some people don't even think about that.
No.
Like a photocopy, crooked, crappy looking form is perfectly fine to them.
Correct. But if you're one of those people that you want your image of your business to look right, which is one thing I appreciate with Jeremiah. He's the same way. He likes everything to be standardized, clean. He's like very like
meticulous.
yeah, like one thing we talked about was all the canopies need to be the same color because every vendor brought their own canopy, and we're like, this looks horrible, and so we're gonna just provide all the canopies so everything's black. Boom, just done, clean. Everything's super organized, super
Yeah.
clean. It makes everything. It makes the product look better. It makes the event look better. It makes it look, more put together.
Yeah,
and,
no, it's true. And that's something I didn't even think of.
Yeah, versus it looking like the swap meet.
Yeah.
Like that's not what we're trying to achieve, right? We're trying to achieve something of an upper scale, outdoor, event.
Yeah. We're trying to class up Ontario.
So yeah, I definitely think it was a lot of work. It was 3 weeks of construction, which doesn't sound like a long time, but we did a lot in 3 weeks. We created a whole gallery. But 3 weeks worth of construction, long hours, 12, 14-hour days, 7 days a week. Then the lead up to the event. I came in the morning and we're like, okay, and I know you did the same thing too. We're like, we'll come in, we'll work, we'll go home, we'll shower, we'll change, we'll come back for the event.
That never happened.
Yeah, I was in my work clothes for the
So
entire
was
event.
I.
I was so tired. I was beat. We did partial construction that day.
But look, I think the interesting part of it is, so a normal people would just do that event, and maybe they would do it again. Maybe they would just keep stumbling through it. Maybe they wouldn't do it again. So we did that event, and we made a whole company out of it.
Yeah,
Like
literally.
the very next day, we're like, okay, this is a company. We need to create a board.
Yes.
We got board. We already recruited some board members. We had a meeting, and we're already assigning roles, and so I think that's kind of what differentiates how we do business.
Yeah.
Versus somebody else. And then on top of that, now this week we're creating all the processes to kind of make it like a streamlined, smooth running, well-oiled machine.
Well, and I think that's the thing, right? Like in order for this to work, it has to not be a special event. It has to just be an event that happens every month. Right? We kind of talked about that because, look, we wake up in the morning and go, what the hell did we get ourselves into? We have those doubt
Oh my
moments.
gosh, yes.
And, and I know like it's pushing you out of your comfort zone. Basically,
Yes.
anytime you push yourself, you're pushing yourself out of your comfort zone. And we need that in order to grow, and we want to grow, right? And so
We do need that.
our motivation, if you're just kind of tuning in for the first time, you haven't listened to what we were doing here, our motivation is we own a retail store, home goods and furniture and design decor that complements our real estate and construction business. And we now have a vacant building, and we turn that into an art gallery, which kind of go hand in hand because we're in the arts district. But what we're really trying to do is we're trying to stimulate the local economy. We're trying to stimulate the downtown art district, and we're doing that
because we have nothing better to do.
Well, and we're doing this in the face of a coming recession, right? And so in my mind, I believe we're going to have a very, 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 very bad recession. And so you may say, okay, then why are you spending your time doing something like this? Well, it's simple. Because in a recession, people are still going to do stuff, but they want to do stuff that's cheap. So what's better than a free street art event, right? Like, go walk around with your family. It doesn't cost you anything. And to go look at art and different vendors and stuff and kind of window shop doesn't cost you anything. Well, okay, great. Then there's food and there's beverage there, beer and wine and whatever the case is. And so you're doing these things. You're going to still spend money on some of these things during a recession.
Yeah.
And it's going to bring exposure to the arts area. And not everyone in a recession is out of money. I mean, there's people making money in a recession, right?
And you still got to eat.
Yeah, and so what we're doing is we're trying to find ways to draw the public into downtown Ontario.
Get them used to coming to this area.
It's consistent. Remember, we talked about consistency, right? It's consistent of every single month. And then as we launch our pizza restaurant, which we'll start building here on location sometime probably like early spring, late winter, early spring, with hopes of getting it done by the end of 2024. But now these people already have come, seen it, and be anticipating it.
Well, exactly. And that's what I think is like such a good idea. So normally a company will, go through their build and if they know they're going to open a restaurant, right? They're focused on the building and all of that. And then once the restaurant opens, I mean, they might start marketing maybe a month before. They might put a banner up or start an Instagram. But at the end of the day, they probably don't start marketing until they do their grand opening or they actually open their business. In this case, we're marketing for our pizza shop that no one even knows about, that we haven't even started speaking about. Now, just by getting feet and foot traffic in the area, getting them used to coming to downtown Ontario, getting them used to thinking about what's going on in downtown and coming this way so that by the time we do finally open our restaurant, we'll have already a built-in audience.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's really cool.
And while we're in construction, we'll have the look of what the building will be out there.
Yeah.
So people will see it, they'll anticipate it, they'll be like, oh wow, this is coming.
You already have such a head start.
Yeah. So and again, this goes to our broader plan of we invest in real estate, right? I mean, what better to have real estate that generates revenue and to be in control of that revenue, right? So having these different dynamics of our business to where we can kind of pivot around the economy, bringing people in, bringing activity to downtown is great. The city likes that. The other developers in the area like that. The other residents and businesses like that.
Yeah.
It really is a win-win situation. Except for the one guy that doesn't like us playing music at night, so he calls the police all the time. But you're always gonna have people say, "Hey, you're gentrifying the neighborhood." Well, you're right. I'm doing something in the neighborhood because the way it is now, the only people making money were the streetwalkers and drug dealers that have gotten pushed out and
the thing is too, it's like, well, I know I don't know if you know, but I have this book. It's called What to Do When It's Your Turn. It's a Seth Godin book. Have you heard of it?
No.
It's called What to Do When It's Your Turn.
I think every teenage boy has that next to his bed.
And then it says, why? And then it says, and it's always your turn.
Yeah.
Which that always stuck with me too, because I feel like we kind of took it upon ourselves to improve the downtown. I mean, I don't own the downtown. I mean, we own a building downtown, but at the end of the day, it is my problem because I have a business here and I want it to succeed, but we've encompassed so much more than just, what we're doing specifically. And I feel like, it's always the answer to a question of who should do something. It always points back it has to always point back at yourself.
Yeah.
If not you, who? And, I think that also differentiates us because we just always take ownership and, what better way to kind of control your destiny than to, work on the things all around you and making them better. And And in turn, that makes your business better. But you've actually improved so much more than that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and I think too, as I look around at some of the other businesses in downtown, and there's some newer businesses in downtown. Some that have been open for a little, maybe a year or so. Some that just opened, and I see some of their failures to leave their business, walk outside the front door, and realize that, hey, you have a community out here. Get involved in the community, and we're guilty of that. Like, we spent so many years in Claremont, and we were not really involved in the community, mainly because we didn't really fit in the sense that the community was different than what we were. We were a real estate
That was
service.
kind of a different community.
Here we have a store, so we had an entrance, and we could have. But I think knowing today what we know about community involvement, we could have had probably a different impact in the community and had more involvement. But because we're so involved, I go to City Hall, I walk in the door. There's Ann sitting at the front desk. Hey, how you doing, Damien? And I go over and talk to Dominic in the planning department, right? I go over and talk to a woman in the building department. Like, they all know me. I'm in there, and I'm there for a building. I'm there for a permit. I'm there for an event. I'm always in for a different reason.
You're always doing something.
And so we're always in there, but I know them, right? And so it's kind of walking in and knowing everybody. And, hey, what's up? What's going on? It's a good feeling, because what's happening is,
Ontario has a small town feel.
They do, and they're all really, really, really nice. But the thing is if you're self-employed, your life can be lonely, right? So if you take away your clients, the people you work with, oftentimes it's a very small team. If it's not just you, maybe one or two other people, your life is really lonely sometimes.
Well, you can be isolated.
Yeah.
Kind of a bubble.
And so, but when you begin to network and kind of get out there and start talking to people, you feel like all these people are an extension of your company, right? Like, they're part of your team.
It's community.
Yeah, I'm there talking. We're troubleshooting something. We're looking in the city computer. We're with the building department. We're looking at things, and it's cool. I like that, right? And so it's like, now that I'm on the board with the Downtown Improvement Association, it's like I'm trying to encourage businesses. Like, get outside of yourself. Like, get out and talk to people. It's important to talk to your neighbors. It's important to walk up and down the street. Like, I like to walk. Okay, so you've always made fun of me because no matter where our business has been located, I would always.
He's a social butterfly.
I would always walk around and talk to, like, when we started our one company manufacturing, we were like in a
industrial complex
strip mall type place. I knew every business in there. I knew every business.
He was never at his desk.
So I would go in, sit down, and I still have relationships today with people from those businesses. I go hang out in their business, and they're working. I'm talking to them. We're just like, shooting the shit for like an hour. And me would always go.
You're a productivity killer.
I am, right? So, but I do that here, right? Like, I walk through downtown, just walk through, see what's going on. I stop in another construction project.
That's how you learn things, really.
See what's going on, where are they going, and I'm always looking for opportunity. I'm looking for, how do I meet people? How can I leverage the person that I just met? Like,
exactly.
Tell me what you do, and I want to figure out how I can leverage that to some degree. I'm an entrepreneur.
You're a capitalist.
And so it's getting out and doing that. And talking to those people, it's what gets us, I think, kind of going and motivates us. And so kind of circling back, like, okay, when things get like really tough, I now know, like, I made a commitment and I told all these people in the community I'm going to do this.
It makes you accountable.
So I told everybody in the community, we're going to do Third Saturday every single month. I'm on the board saying we're going to do this, right? So now
you got to do it.
Here we go. We do the first one. It's a lot of work. We go home 2:00, drop dead, tired, and then we wake up the next morning like, oh my God, we got to like debrief to start the next one. And a lesser man would be like, I don't want to do this. But
yes,
how can I say that when I told everybody I'm going to do it? Like, that would be embarrassing, right?
That is part of the strategy of goal setting. Is creating accountability by opening your mouth and telling people what you want to do.
Correct.
And that forces you, if you're a person of your word anyways, that really convicts you and forces you to keep going.
Correct.
But that's kind of what I was talking to you about this morning about getting out of your comfort zone. It's, I felt like I had to put my money where my mouth was, just because I did feel very, and I told you, like, I have a pretty big zone, like you could buy buildings. It doesn't bother me. We could start businesses. It doesn't bother me. Do all kinds of things. No problem. But having future events for some reason, because I feel like I've lived my whole life kind of, one day at a time situation. Like, I don't like having appointments. I don't like having things I have
now
to
you have
go
schedules.
to. Yeah, I don't like having a schedule. I don't like having to look at my calendar. Like, that's not me. And now it's like I have this event every single month. And not only do I have to go to it, I have to plan it. and do all these things for it. And then I don't even know how it's going to turn out. You know, I don't know if it's going to be good, bad. I don't know if it's going to rain. I don't know if, people are going to show or not. And I feel like that's like where like I get a little bit of
uneasy.
anxiety.
Yeah, get uneasy on that, like not knowing the outcome because you can't control it.
And like why? And then you think like, oh my God, what am I doing? But kind of, I feel like the nice part is we go through our day just doing, we'll do this because it sounds good during the day, and it kind of commits us. We may be super questioning our life choices in the morning, but it's too late. Like you force yourself to be stretched. And that's kind of how I feel right now. I feel like I'm being stretched out of my comfort zone, just really not for ability, just because I can't control every moment of the outcome. And I know that's, so that's something I need to work on.
I haven't been comfortable since we moved into this building.
Oh, see,
because
the building doesn't bother me at all.
No, it's not the building. It's we've been stretching ourselves, doing new things. And it's not a bad thing. But it's funny. So today I saw on Instagram, Grant Cardone was asked if he wanted I forget how the question came up, but ultimately the question was, do you want your child to be happy? And you know what his answer was? I don't give a damn if she's happy. I want her to be productive. He goes, I don't care about being happy. I care about being productive. And this is what he said. And I kind of agree with him. He said, productivity leads to happiness. He said, people seeking happiness aren't productive.
Is that true?
Well, think about it. Think about what you're saying, right? So you're saying like, look, when you get out of your comfort zone, what do people say? This isn't making me happy. This is too much. But people will back themselves off because they want to be happy.
That's a little overly dramatic.
But that's what people do. But that's why people don't leave their comfort zone. Most people won't leave their comfort zone. So it's not really over dramatic because that's how most people think, right? 80% of people will not leave their comfort zone, right? Like, so when we met a long time ago, do you remember we had this conversation? We were in the car driving to work in traffic, and you said, I would like to do my own thing. Do you remember what I said?
No.
Do you remember that? So I remember we're in this car and we're driving and we're going down the 57. There's all this traffic. And, if you guys commute, you see the same people every day on the freeway because you guys all leave at the same time, to the point where you're like, oh, that guy in the car next to me had that tie on last Wednesday. Like, you literally see the same people when you drive in traffic. And I remember you said to me, like, yeah, I would like to do my own thing. And you were just saying that in response to me saying I wanted to do something. And you're like, oh, yeah, like, of course, like, I want to do my own thing. And I said, you know what? Wanting to do your own thing isn't unique. Everybody on the freeway and freaking traffic wants to do their own thing. But guess what? They're not. They're still in traffic, right? Like, most people will only talk about it, right? So you guys all have those friends, those family members that talk about, oh, I want to do this. I want to do this. I want to do this. I want to own this. I want to have this. But when you say, what are you doing to achieve that? They'll say, oh, well, I'm looking into it. No, you're not doing anything. You're just running your mouth. You're just basically running your mouth. Like, and so I would say 80-90% of people just kind of run their mouth with, I want to do this. Some people don't want to do any of that. They're like, I just want to work a 9 to 5 and I don't want any responsibility, right? But at the end of the day, people are always unhappy. Unhappiness comes from here's what unhappiness comes from. It comes from where you thought you were going to be in life and where you really are in life equals unhappiness. So how it works is if you
expectations.
So you set your expectation. You say, by the time I'm 40, I want to own, 2 houses. I want to have, $500,000 in the bank, and I want to drive, a Ferrari. Okay, whatever the case is, you set that expectation. Well, then when you get to 40, you don't have that. That's what causes unhappiness. That's why in life, society, people will say they're unhappy because they've set their expectations. But here's the thing: they forgot the productivity part. They set the expectation. They forgot the actual be productive and actually work towards it part, right? Like
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if I agree with productivity equals happiness.
Well, I get what he was saying is because when you're productive, you're doing something meaningful. You're doing something.
Yeah. And you're feeling accomplished.
You're feeling accomplished. If you do nothing, you're not going to be happy.
Yeah. Like, it's nice at the end of the day. You're like, okay.
Like, I think his point was he's not worried about creating a life where his daughter was happy. Like, let me surround her in happiness. Like, no, let me surround her in how to be productive, how to make money, how to do things in the world to get what you want, right? That was more important than to be so-called happy, right? Because our world's filled of happy and safe spaces to be happy. And where is that getting the generation? Nowhere. people don't do anything because they're like the girl we interviewed. She didn't work for a year and a half because she was reflecting. I mean, what the hell are you reflecting for a year and a half? If I went home and told my mom at the age of whatever, when she lived at home and I lived at home and said, Mom, I quit my job because I'm going to reflect for the next year and a half. One, she would have hit me in the back of the head with a wooden spoon.
I don't even know what I'd be reflecting on, honestly.
And she would have said, get your shit and don't let the door hit you in the ass because you are not going to sit here and reflect.
And should we be reflecting? Isn't that like looking backwards? Shouldn't we be looking forwards?
I mean, I just remember.
You can't cry.
I just remember I graduated high school. It was a summer after graduation, and I remember I was sitting in the living room at like 10:30 in the morning, eating cereal. I was watching like Yo MTV Raps. So that's how long ago it was, right? Like in the 90s. I'm watching that. I'm like, yeah, listen, watching like, I don't know, Snoop Dogg or whatever. And my mom comes in and she's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, it's summer. She goes, you're out of school. It ain't summer. She goes, it's just another day. She goes, you need to go get a job so you can start paying rent. I go, what do you mean? She goes, you don't pay rent. You need to leave. And I was like, and she was like dead serious, right?
You didn't have a job?
No, I just graduated. We just moved, and so I was like, and it was like, I thought for a minute I would like, enjoy summer vacation. And she was like, newsflash, that doesn't exist anymore. You need to get your ass up and go to work. But I mean, I'm glad that they had that thought process because it forced me to go out and work, get things done.
I got my first job at 14.
I got mine at 12.
Then you should have had a job.
I know, but I quit a lot of them and I took time off.
Yeah, no. I mean, I just think that
but
at the end of the day, I mean, happy, it's not about chasing happiness is kind of a futile exercise.
It's like chasing the wind. Happiness is a feeling and it's not something to be chased. I think it's like chasing the wind. You should focus on creating stability in your life, creating structure, being productive, moving towards your goals, set reasonable goals, financial goals for yourself, goals of, even goals for travel, right? But goals for travel, goals for leisure, goals for your...
like most people don't really have any goals.
Yeah, setting those goals, but then talking about it, right? Like, so us going around and meeting with all the business owners, us always constantly saying we're going to do this third Saturday makes us accountable. It's kind of like when I went to the BMW drive school to learn how to drift the BMWs, which was really cool. The instructor said, look, he goes, you're behind the wheel of the car. He goes, your car is going to go where your eyes look. And so think about that for a second. If you've ever skidded off the road, gotten in an accident, whatever, wherever your eyes go is where your car goes, right? So if your car gets out of control and your eyes are shifting all over the place, your car is going to be all over the place, right? And he's like, no. He goes, a driver in control keeps his eyes where he wants his car to point. He goes, and your body will follow the natural movements of where your eyes are looking because you already know how to drive and you have like kind of like your inner thought process will take over and it knows how to navigate. And so we get out on the track. And it's true, it does work. Like I'm drifting, I'm doing great. I'm on the wet track. The second I look sideways to see what's going on to the left or right of me, I lose out and spin out that direction. And the instructor sitting in the seat next to me goes, I'm looking at you. And as soon as you moved your eyes, so did the car. Mm-hmm. Well, it's the same way in life.
Yeah.
If you're constantly talking about your goals, you're constantly saying what you're going to do and you're sharing them with other people, your actions, your actions will actually move
unconsciously, really, subconsciously.
They'll move towards that because if like, hey, I'm gonna start a business and I need to save some money and I need to do the, get X number of equipment or whatever. As you're going through your life, you're constantly talking about that. Your motives, your movements, the things that you do will be subconsciously start stockpiling money, start looking at equipment.
It really weird. It is really like magic.
Yeah,
almost.
And then that'll cause you to talk to people. Next thing you know, you're talking to a vendor and this and that. And then people are asking you, oh, when are you going to be up and running? Maybe I have a client for you. And then that starts to materialize. And you're like, wait a minute, I have something here. I haven't even started yet. Like because I talked about it. I've talked it into an existence.
There's magic in... It's kind of like speaking it into existence.
Yeah.
Kind of like manifesting it.
Yeah.
But in a way, not in a weird like,
not in a weird hippie, rubbing crystal way, like
not in a weird like the offering way.
Yeah.
Just literally, if you talk about something, you'll start to believe it because the things that come out of your mouth also go into your head. Just like if you say negative things, that can affect you negatively. If you keep talking about things you want to do and things you're going to do and you say it confidently, your brain will start to actually believe it. And then, your feet and your hands will start to do it.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
It's actually magic. And I feel like that's attributed to.
Your ears are definitely closest to your mouth.
That's true.
So it's gonna be you're the first to hear what you say.
Yeah, and you could drink your own Kool-Aid. Really.
Yeah, you really can. Well, no, it's true, because if you don't like something and you verbalize you don't like something long enough, even if you really didn't care one way or the other, you'll begin to hate something because you've talked yourself into it. So instead of
you reaffirm the feeling.
So instead do the opposite. Talk yourself into where you're going to be, what success you're going to enjoy, what roads are you going to travel to get there. And it doesn't mean that you're not going to run. You're going to run into all kinds of stumbling blocks.
Oh, yeah,
but all those people you share that with are going to be your biggest supporters. And they're going to be the ones that when you do wake up and go, what did I get myself into? They're going to be like, no, Mia, it's cool. You got this. You've been talking about it. You're going to do it.
Yeah.
I'll tell you one of my biggest, I know you didn't read this book, but the My Pillow Guy book.
Oh, yeah.
Mike Lindell. Whatever you think of that subject, read the book, because about business, it's really good, and his experience. But he was a total like crackhead. In the book, he talks about it. Even while he started My Pillow, he was a crackhead. In fact, he said he shared a moment in the book where he was farming, which I didn't know what this was. He was crawling on the hands and knees inside his dealer's apartment looking for crack in the carpet, and that's called farming. And because the dealer wouldn't give him any more crack. And the dealer told him and said, listen, you keep telling us God's got a plan for you and you're going to own this big company. And when you do, you're going to hire all of us. And we're not going to live this lifestyle anymore. We're not going to give you any more crack because we don't want you to die. And then that dealer went and told all the other dealers. And so nobody would sell to him.
That's hilarious.
And then he took his flip phone from him and took a picture of Mike Lindell all strung out and said, here, I want you to remember what you look like, and took a picture of himself, which was amazing because he put that picture in his book. In fact, his book is a picture of him as you see him selling My Pillow. And then you turn it and you see his crackhead. and he basically doesn't run from it. He's like, as a testimony, he goes, he kept saying what he was going to do. He kept saying, God's got a plan for me. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. That the people around him became his biggest supporters, including his crack dealer, who now all those dealers do work for him. They're executives.
That's really cool.
They all got clean. Everyone went to rehab, and he supports people who have this. But seriously, right? Like, how awesome. But he spoke it into an existence because he kept talking about it. And then the people that he was close to that he shared that with, they basically reaffirmed his dream and said, no, we're not going to let you fail. You have to do what you said. And so that's a really, really cool book. You read that, it's really inspiring.
Inspirational.
Yeah, super inspirational. So anyway, I think that's good. I think that kind of drives home the point. Like, when the tough gets going, you got to just keep pushing forward. Yeah,
just keep, talking about the things you want to do and, making steps to move forward to that. And, chances are it's going to happen.
Yeah. And remember from last episode, write your worries down and let them go. Because if you dwell on your worries, it's going to keep you from dreaming moving forward. Write them down in that book, date that, and just keep moving on. And I guarantee you, all the things that you worry about, most of them are never even going to come to fruition, and they shouldn't have taken up any mental space. Everything should be geared towards what you're going to do.
That's true.
So
move forward.
All right, we're out because we have to actually get back to work and plan for our next event. So, all right, guys, see you next week.
Hey guys, this is Damien. Thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed listening to us ramble about real estate and property management. Don't forget to check out all our social media and visit our website for wholesale property management. You can find the link in the bio. If you have topics, questions, or crazy situations you want us to talk about, send us a message. See you on the next episode of ModTalk.